The smugglers thought the food truck guy was just trying to make a living. He used to patrol the border for 15 years. Hey everyone, welcome to Hidden Strength Stories. Today's story will change how you look at the person serving your street tacos. Drop a comment with your favorite food truck meal and hit subscribe if stories about hidden veterans inspire you. Miguel Chef Mike Hernandez had been running Abuela's kitchen food truck in Tucson, Arizona for 7 years. At 48, he worked the lunch rush with the practiced efficiency of someone who had perfected every aspect of his mobile restaurant, from the precise timing of his carne asada to the friendly banter that kept customers coming back for more. His truck was stationed at the same corner of South 6th Avenue every day, serving construction workers, office employees, and locals who craved authentic Mexican food made with genuine care and traditional recipes. To the hundreds of customers who lined up at Abuela's kitchen each week, Miguel was simply the best food truck operator in Tucson, someone who remembered their orders, asked about their families, and somehow always had their food ready faster than seemed possible. He knew which customers preferred extra salsa, who needed their lunch wrapped to go, and which regulars were struggling financially and could use an occasional free meal without being asked. What none of his customers knew was that Agent Miguel Hernandez had spent 15 years with U.S. Border Patrol, including 8 years as a senior field agent responsible for interdicting smuggling operations along the Arizona-Mexico border. He had tracked drug runners through desert terrain, intercepted human trafficking networks, and developed an expert understanding of how criminal organizations moved people and contraband across international boundaries. Miguel had retired from Border Patrol after suffering a back injury during a pursuit operation, choosing to honor his family's culinary traditions rather than continue the physically demanding work of border security. Miguel had chosen to operate Abuela's kitchen not just because he loved cooking, but because the observational skills that had made him an effective Border Patrol agent, pattern recognition, behavior analysis, and understanding smuggling logistics, translated perfectly to running a successful food business in a diverse community where many customers preferred to keep their personal affairs private. Every person who approached his truck was automatically assessed and welcomed. Every unusual pattern was noted and evaluated, and every potential problem was identified and addressed before it could affect his business or customers. The morning of Wednesday, December 6th, brought regular customers whose behavior would test Miguel's commitment to staying out of the law enforcement business he'd left behind. The Rodriguez crew, 5 men who had been buying lunch from Abuela's kitchen 3 times a week for the past 4 months, arrived at their usual time of 11:30 a.m., but their routine had changed in ways that Miguel's Border Patrol training immediately recognized as significant. The crew leader, a man calling himself Fernando Rodriguez, had always paid for the group's meals in small bills, claimed they worked construction, and kept their conversations focused on work schedules and weather. But over the past 2 weeks, Miguel had noticed changes in their behavior that didn't match their stated occupation or economic situation. First, their payment methods had shifted from crumpled singles and fives to crisp $20 and $50 bills. A change that suggested a significant increase in income that didn't align with construction work during Tucson's slow winter season. Second, their Spanish conversations had evolved from discussions about job sites and family to coded references about deliveries, packages, and routes that Miguel's Border Patrol experience recognized as smuggling terminology. Most concerning to Miguel was the way the Rodriguez crew had begun asking questions about his truck's schedule, route patterns, and whether he ever traveled near the international border for supplies or special events. Their interest seemed to extend beyond casual conversation to operational intelligence gathering. "Chef Mike," Fernando said during their most recent visit, "you ever think about expanding your business? Maybe taking the truck to different areas closer to the border? Lot of hungry workers down there." Miguel's 15 years of investigating smuggling operations had taught him to recognize when someone was probing for information about transportation patterns and border proximity. The Rodriguez crew's questions suggested they were interested in his truck, not as customers, but as potential logistical support for cross-border activities. Over the following week, Miguel observed additional concerning details. The Rodriguez crew had begun arriving in different vehicles, expensive trucks and SUVs that seemed inconsistent with construction worker incomes. They carried high-end cell phones and wore clothing and jewelry that suggested access to substantial cash. Most telling was their body language and conversation patterns, which had shifted from the relaxed demeanor of working men enjoying lunch to the focused intensity of people involved in high-stakes operations. Miguel also noticed that the crew's lunch timing had become precisely coordinated with specific time windows, suggesting they were operating on schedules that required exact timing, a characteristic of professional smuggling operations where coordination with cross-border contacts was critical. During his Border Patrol career, Miguel had learned that smuggling networks often used legitimate businesses as cover for their operations, either by corrupting business owners or by using regular customer relationships to establish operational patterns that appeared normal to outside observers. The Rodriguez crew's evolving behavior suggested they might be planning to involve Abuela's kitchen in their activities, either willingly or through deception. Miguel faced a dilemma that brought back memories of his Border Patrol training. If he was right about what he was seeing, his regular customers were involved in smuggling operations that could endanger his business, his other customers, and potentially involve him in federal crimes. If he was wrong, he was about to damage relationships with loyal customers based on suspicions that might reflect nothing more than their personal success in legitimate work. But Miguel's 15 years of fighting border crime had taught him that the cost of ignoring smuggling activity was always higher than the cost of investigating suspicious behavior. He decided to gather more intelligence before taking action. Miguel began documenting the Rodriguez crew's behavior patterns, using his Border Patrol experience to track their arrival times, vehicle descriptions, conversation topics, and interaction patterns with other customers. He also started paying closer attention to their specific food orders and eating habits, looking for indicators of stress, urgency, or coordination with external schedules. What Miguel discovered confirmed his suspicions. The Rodriguez crew was operating on tightly coordinated schedules that aligned with known smuggling route timing along the Arizona-Mexico border. Their conversations included references to cargo, crossing points, and delivery windows that Miguel recognized from his years of intercepting similar operations. Most damning was a conversation Miguel overheard while preparing their food order. Fernando Rodriguez was speaking quietly on his phone in Spanish, discussing coordination with contacts in Nogales and mentioning specific times and locations that Miguel recognized as active smuggling corridors he had patrolled during his Border Patrol career. Miguel called his former colleague, Agent Lisa Morales, who still worked with Border Patrol's Tucson Sector Intelligence Unit. Lisa was one of the few people who knew about Miguel's background and had maintained contact since his retirement from the agency. "Lisa, it's Miguel Hernandez. I need to run something by you." "Miguel, good to hear from you. How's the food truck business?" Miguel described what he'd observed, using the technical language of someone who had spent years conducting smuggling investigations and intelligence operations. Lisa listened without interruption, her law enforcement training recognizing the significance of what Miguel was reporting. "Miguel, that sounds like a coordination cell for a major smuggling operation. We've been tracking increased activity in the Nogales corridor that matches your timeline." "That's what I was thinking," Miguel replied, reviewing his documentation. "These guys are operating like a professional crew, not casual opportunists." "Can you maintain surveillance without compromising your safety? We need to identify their full network and operational methods." Miguel agreed to continue gathering intelligence while Border Patrol agents established external surveillance of the Rodriguez crew. His position as their regular food vendor gave him unique access to their behavior patterns and scheduling information that would be crucial for understanding their operation. Over the next 3 weeks, Miguel documented a smuggling network that was far more sophisticated than his initial observations had suggested. The Rodriguez crew was part of a larger organization that was coordinating the movement of both drugs and undocumented immigrants through multiple crossing points, using a network of legitimate businesses and regular customer relationships to establish operational cover and communication systems. Miguel, Agent Morales told him during one of their briefings, "Your intelligence has identified a major trafficking organization. These guys are moving significant quantities of drugs and people, and they've been using your food truck location as a coordination point." The breakthrough came when Miguel observed Fernando Rodriguez coordinating what appeared to be a major operation involving multiple vehicles and precise timing. Using his Border Patrol training, Miguel documented the entire coordination meeting, including participant identities, vehicle descriptions, and timing information that revealed the scope of their smuggling activities. "Lisa, they're planning something big for tomorrow night," Miguel reported. "Based on their conversation and timing coordination, this looks like a major border crossing operation." "We're coordinating with CBP and DEA for interdiction," Agent Morales replied. "Your intelligence has given us everything we need to disrupt their entire network." Federal agents and local police coordinated a multi-location operation that resulted in the arrest of 12 members of the smuggling organization, including the entire Rodriguez crew. The investigation revealed that they had been using Abuela's kitchen as a regular meeting point to coordinate smuggling runs, discuss operational security, and maintain the appearance of legitimate daily routines while planning criminal activities. Mr. Hernandez, Agent Morales said as evidence teams processed multiple arrest locations, "Your identification of this smuggling network disrupted a major trafficking operation. These guys were moving millions of dollars in drugs and collecting thousands of dollars per person for human smuggling." The investigation that followed Miguel's discovery revealed that the organization had been operating for over 2 years, using a network of legitimate businesses throughout southern Arizona as coordination points and cover for their activities. Miguel's Border Patrol training and willingness to investigate had exposed a network that had successfully evaded detection by using routine customer relationships to hide their operational meetings. "How did you know?" Agent Morales asked Miguel during their debrief. "Most business owners would have seen regular customers who paid well and left it at that." Miguel looked at his food truck, where he'd built a successful business serving honest working people who deserved safe neighborhoods and legitimate employment opportunities. 15 years of Border Patrol teaches you to recognize when people's behavior doesn't match their stated circumstances. These guys weren't construction workers. They were professional smugglers. The media attention following the arrests was significant, with federal prosecutors praising Miguel's vigilance and expertise in recognizing sophisticated smuggling operations. But Miguel declined most interview requests, preferring to focus on protecting his legitimate customers' privacy and maintaining the positive community relationships he'd worked to build. "My customers come here for good food and friendly service, not to deal with the attention that comes with federal investigations," Miguel told the one reporter he agreed to speak with. "They deserve to eat their lunch in peace." Miguel's role in exposing the smuggling operation earned him recognition from Border Patrol, ICE, and anti-trafficking organizations throughout Arizona. Agent Morales recommended him for a Civilian Service Award, and Border Patrol invited him to speak about the importance of community awareness in combating smuggling operations. But Miguel was most proud of the fact that his actions had protected his legitimate customers from being unwittingly involved in criminal activities. His detection and reporting of the smuggling network had prevented his food truck from becoming associated with illegal border crossings or drug trafficking. Abuela's kitchen became more popular following the media coverage, with customers appreciating the security awareness that Miguel's presence provided. Border Patrol agents, police officers, and military personnel became regular customers, drawn by the combination of excellent food and subtle protective consciousness that Miguel's background provided. 6 months after exposing the smuggling operation, Miguel received a visit from Border Patrol Chief Jennifer Martinez, who offered him a consulting position with the agency's Community Outreach and Intelligence Division. "Your combination of operational experience and community business perspective makes you uniquely qualified," Chief Martinez explained. "We need people who can identify smuggling operations in everyday civilian environments." Miguel accepted a part-time consulting role that allowed him to maintain Abuela's kitchen while providing expertise to federal border security efforts. His food truck became a training location where Border Patrol agents learned to recognize smuggling indicators in civilian business settings and community environments. The most important lesson Miguel told groups of federal agents training at his food truck is that smugglers often hide in plain sight by using legitimate businesses and regular customer relationships. The key is recognizing when behavior patterns don't match stated circumstances. Miguel kept his Border Patrol credentials and commendations in a frame inside his food truck, not as displays of past service, but as reminders that border security was an ongoing community responsibility. Every day he served food, he was still protecting his community, just using different methods and different environments than he'd used as a federal agent. 3 years after foiling the smuggling operation, Abuela's Kitchen was designated as a community watch partner by local and federal law enforcement, recognizing Miguel's unique ability to identify suspicious activity and coordinate with authorities when necessary. The designation came with educational responsibilities. Miguel began teaching smuggling awareness classes for local business owners, showing other entrepreneurs how to spot trafficking indicators and report suspicious activities without compromising their businesses or endangering their customers. Every business owner near the border can help fight smuggling, Miguel told his training audiences. You don't need Border Patrol training to notice when customers' stories don't match their behavior or when your business is being used for purposes unrelated to what you're selling. Local and federal law enforcement agencies began referring suspicious activity cases to Miguel, recognizing his expertise in smuggling operations and border crime detection. His food truck became a resource for investigators dealing with trafficking-related crimes throughout southern Arizona. People don't realize how much border security experience applies to civilian business operations, Agent Morales reflected during a later interview. Miguel's Border Patrol training made him see patterns that hundreds of other business owners would have missed. That observation disrupted a major smuggling network. Miguel continued operating Abuela's Kitchen with the same attention to detail that had once made him one of Border Patrol's most effective field agents. Every customer was served with genuine hospitality, but observed carefully. Every unusual pattern was noted and evaluated, and every potential criminal activity was identified and reported before it could compromise his business or community safety. The man serving your street tacos might look like any other food truck operator, but his eyes could be analyzing behavior patterns with the experience of someone who spent years tracking smugglers through desert terrain. Sometimes the person asking if you want extra salsa is the same person protecting your community from trafficking networks that think food trucks provide perfect cover for operational coordination. Miguel Hernandez proved that Border Patrol skills don't become obsolete when the uniform comes off. The abilities that made him effective at interdicting smuggling operations translated perfectly to recognizing criminal activity and protecting the people who trusted him with their daily meals. His story reminds us that Border Patrol agents carry their observational training and smuggling detection skills into every job they take, often using their specialized knowledge in ways that seem unrelated to border security, but actually draw on exactly the same investigative techniques that once protected our international boundaries from criminal exploitation. Have you ever bought food from a truck where the owner seemed unusually observant about customer behavior and neighborhood activity? Miguel's story shows us that the person serving your lunch might be someone whose training extends far beyond cooking great food. The vendor remembering your order could be someone whose attention to detail once intercepted major smuggling operations and continues to protect your community in ways you never expected. Where are you watching from today? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know about your favorite local food truck and whether you've ever noticed the owner paying special attention to what's happening in the neighborhood.